And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning into this now, you are hearing your co host, Kenny Buller, live and ready to bring to you our first guest back on the Second Floor podcast of season 2. I want to thank you all for bracing yourselves, waiting patiently. For those who followed us in the first season, welcome back. For those of you who are new and are listening to this for the first time, welcome. On the Second Floor podcast, we now bring to you fitness and health enthusiasts, anyone who lives and breathes a healthy lifestyle and has brought that to the attention of living their life physically, mentally, and spiritually at the highest level they possibly can. And when I was thinking of the first guest to bring on, this is a man who's taken on an incredible amount of sacrifice, an incredible amount of time and energy and passion towards MMA, and is now reaping the benefits he so rightfully deserves. And that is the one and only Tanner Boser. I am very fortunate to call this man a friend of mine. I am very fortunate to have trained and had awesome experiences as a training partner with Tanner in our life as well. He's actually, I like to say, my right hand, my brother's right hand man when it comes to both of them aspiring to be the greatest UFC fighters, and Tanner very much so making his way, earning that rank as he fights Andre Arlovski on November 7th, coming up on the weekend here. Super excited to see him in action. Him and my brother KB and their head training coach Jeff are heading there to Vegas, and Tanner's getting ready to rightfully hold his deserving title currently as the number 15 heavyweight. Tanner Boser on the episode goes into detail about, for starters, not just normal things you're just going to be hearing out of, for those MMA fans out there, what you would always are trying to get out of somebody in an interview from a fighter. And this is something I've actually spoken about with Tanner. KB and I, we joke about this a lot, where a lot of people who interview fighters, I'm not saying everyone, but sometimes it's some of the same language used, right? Like, oh, what are you going to do to prepare for this fight? What's your game plan? What's your strategy? Do you feel ready? Are you nervous? Well, we're going to let that all go, and we're actually just going to get to know Tanner a little bit for who he is and why he has so much love for the game. And some of the topics we discussed, which I find you're going to take a lot of interest in, is, the value of what having good coaches is like. That's something that Tanner cares deeply about. He's going to talk a little bit about his training partners and why having the right set of training partners is so important to executing the right game plan in fighting MMA. A little bit about his post-COVID training experience. We're going to go into detail actually about how dedicated and loyal Tanner actually is to his gym at Little Sweatshop. And, comparing that to like a really big corporate-esque gym that you get a lot of successful fighters out of. And then let's obviously speak volumes to Tanner's physical transformation and learn a little bit of what his strength training did to help him improve his fight game overall. And then, we're going to also talk about Tanner's love for Pokemon, which for some of you who may or may not know this, Tanner is a very avid Pokemon Go player, and we go in a little bit of deep dive into that. And we also talk about recognizing how he's not doing this for money. He's never signed up in the first place to fight MMA for money. And we go into his journey and his experience of what that looked like. And in this very episode, you get to learn why and how the nickname Bulldozer Boser came about. Super excited for that and much, much more, guys. I'd like for you to tune in, learn something brand new. Remember, this podcast is all about how to survive in health and fitness, tangible tips on how to optimize your health, your fitness, as well as for those who are business owners and who are passionate about what you do or the daily work grind you're on. Please check out our YouTube channel as well, where my boy Omid is going to be carrying through and showcasing the business side, and I am going to be carrying through the health and fitness side on the podcast. So without further ado, we're going to dive deep if you like this episode, if you're tuning in and you're following our journey, please go on any of the streaming platforms for audio. I'm talking about iTunes, Apple, Spotify, you name it. Share a review, share, like, subscribe. Check us out on Instagram. It would mean so much to us. So without further ado, let's dive in, guys. Welcome.
Thanks.
It's good to have you, man. You're opening up, Tanner, like the first pilot episode of season 2. And as I said, we're mainly talking about the survival component of the podcast. So previous to this, we had how to survive, we had how to thrive, and then we had how to keep the good vibes going. Now we're on the premise of bringing athletes, bringing health and fitness experts, bringing anyone who represents survival to its highest peak.
All right. Well, I mean, I fight people for money, but I ain't out there surviving in the wilderness like Bear Grylls or anything. So I don't know what you mean by survivalist, but all right.
Well, I don't know, like with the team that you have under your back, right? So you guys have the whole Shade Bears mentality.
Yeah.
So that, I would argue, in and of itself, has that element of into the wild, so to speak, of how you guys operate from a marketing perspective.
Okay.
Right? So if you allow me to ask you, do you find that with fighting and what you do as a profession, is it more or less of an independent sport, or do you find that there's a huge team aspect to it?
It's both. It has to be independent in that you have to be motivated to show up and train every day. You know, you have to do your strength and conditioning. Maybe you don't do that with a group. But you need a team. Nobody can do it by themselves. If you don't have a team or coaches, you're simply not going to get better or good enough to maybe you're extremely athletic and maybe you're just naturally gifted and you can win a few fights, but you're not going to win consistently and get to a high level if you don't have a good group of training partners and good coaches. So in that way, you do have a team, although you compete individually. So it's kind of a mix of both.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Do you find that your training partners per se have to be at the same level as you as far as competition wise? Like, do you almost look at it like now that you're in the UFC, they either have to be on par with that or they have to be at a high international organization where they're training? Like, are those things you think about when it comes to being on the same page?
No. My training partners are really good and they've been with me. I've been training with them for a long time. Sure, I happened to get signed to UFC before some of these guys like Teddy Asher or KB, your brother, KB Buller, Graham Park. These guys are all really, really good high level guys. I happened to get signed to UFC probably just because I fight a lot. And eventually I just they were coming to Edmonton. They signed me because I was a local guy. And then I've stuck with it and I'm doing okay right now. But just because I'm in UFC, it's not like this thing where I have some sort of ability they don't have. I've been training with these guys the whole time. They're all really good. KB's fighting on the Contender Series right away. He might be in UFC soon. Teddy fought on the Contender Series, and he's got championships out the ass here in Canada in multiple organizations and weight classes. I train with good guys. Just because I have that UFC label beside me right now, it doesn't change anything. If you don't have good guys training with you, yeah, that's a problem. But I do. They just don't happen to fight for big leagues at the moment. Doesn't mean they won't. Some other guys, Spencer Jeb, fights for M1. That's a pretty big league. The Russian leagues are big leagues. I got good training partners. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And I find giving that validation to the outside, whoever are actual MMA fans or people who train, I find it's a huge testament to recognizing that you don't need to leave like a different gym to go and train with quote unquote better guys. And I find when people say better guys or someone's been in the UFC longer, so they should be a part of your training program or your fight camp, it's like these are guys who know you inside and out. They know your strong points. They know certain parts that you want to build up on your game. And it sounds to me like you want to focus on growing together as opposed to one day being like, hey, we're all training partners. We're all going to go our separate ways.
Yeah, some guys do end up going to like a super gym, as they're called.
Yeah.
Your Jackson's, American Top Team, any of those places, and that's fine. Maybe some guys need to do that. I don't I don't feel I need to, and I don't want to. I like it here. I'm happy here. My coaches know me, and I get in good training. I'm proving that I don't need to go somewhere else. I'm fighting guys from super gyms, and I'm beating most of them. So
Yeah.
I don't, maybe some people do. Maybe some people got to the highest, the pinnacle they could at their gym with their current training situation, and they have to go train somewhere else. I don't know everybody's situation, but mine, I have good guys and I have good coaches, and I'm constantly getting better with Jeff Montemuro and Keijiro Onoda.
Yeah.
My coaches, they know what to do with me to make me better all the time, and I don't have to go anywhere. I have everything I need here. And if there ever comes a point where I somehow think that, wow, I'm really capped out here, I can't get any better, well, then that's where I'll stay, because I'm not into moving. I'm not into trying to spend all the money that I could spend going to live somewhere else, training somewhere else, paying these career coaches shit tons of money. It's not really my thing. It kind of would defeat the purpose. You got to have roots somewhere, and I'm happy here. So these are my gyms, my coaches, and my training partners, and I'll be here for probably forever.
Nice, man. And it's like, it looks like there's a whole other component to it when it comes to like the relationships you also build with your coaches and your teammates, right? Like, I know for one, KB says it so proudly, man. He's like, if it weren't for Tanner giving me this book, like, that was a huge part of his growth. And not even growth as far as just him being like, yeah, I need to fight. That's what I need to do for a living. And I kind of want to flip the script. And maybe from your perspective, what's it like being Tanner Boser's training partner? Like, when someone's your training partner, when you're working with all these people and they were to say anything about like what you do for them, as far as like whether it's in training or it's out of training, what benefit do they get about you being surrounded around them?
I don't know. You got to ask them, man. What the hell do I know? We have good training rounds. We train hard.
Yeah.
I gave KB the book. I gave him The Alchemist, and KB's a smart guy, so I knew that he would completely understand the metaphor directly directed at him in that book. He'd come to training sometimes, and he would be just miserable, just out of it and not feeling good, and I could tell. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? And he's just like... He's like, I fucking hate my life, man. Like, my job, not his life, but his job, like his everyday, the rigmarole of a 9 to 5. He was a smart guy. He went to school. He got the dream job, and it wasn't the dream job. He kind of like, you know what you have to do, unfortunately, because I mean, it would be really nice to have a good career and make 6 figures straight out of the gate or whatever. But here you are, completely miserable all the time.
You're like, you're not yourself.
So. Yeah, I gave him that book, which is kind of about, and then he quit his job. So I'm like, well, KB's either going to thank me one day or fucking hate me. But yeah.
You know what? A few fights later in an article, the proof was right in the pudding, man. That's awesome. From like the coach perspective, I like how you touched upon how like, you're at home. And I just would love to pick your brain about how Keijiro and Montemuro have been in any way, shape, or form, a huge part of the growth and success you've gotten lately through the UFC, or even through, how much stronger you felt lately through your strength and conditioning program. Just overall encompassing what has been a big game changer. Because, I mean, you and I both have our different reasons and stories as to why we transitioned to different gyms, or like you've got a taste of what it was like being in a different gym, and now you've been with Shade Bears for quite some time. And just to see your like growth since is astronomical compared to other gyms you've been in the past. So when you kind of see, based off of Keijiro and Montemuro and the structure of a team and coaches you could confidently now say and go to and be like, I'm not leaving. What is it that they do to like make you so proudly say that?
Well, like I fight the way I fight because like in large part, obviously, because of my coaches and what they teach me. And if I went somewhere else and a coach changed or tried to change you, it's not really the same. Like everything I do and every way I'm improving and learning, it's like layers. Like I have this and now I'm adding small things all the time. They know exactly how I fight, and they know how I should fight every single opponent I could possibly get, right? Whether that turns out or not, they know what the best way for me to do that. So they're constantly improving me in ways through all the martial arts we do. But you mentioned the strength and conditioning. Jeff Montemuro has a strength and conditioning program. I do strength and conditioning like 5 days a week, and I really started doing that reasonably recently, like kind of during the COVID, you know, and I got noticeably stronger, and it helped me in a lot of ways. So I've just really stuck with that, and just train twice, sometimes thrice a day, but usually twice. But they're long, like pretty hard training sessions as a rule, especially the strength and conditioning being in the morning, you know. Yeah, it's all just improvements, and I trust my coaches. So whatever they think is the best thing for me to do, well, I just listen.
Totally, exactly. And I find it's just a big testament to seeing how they just they pick apart, for lack of a better term, your strengths. They recognize what you're good at. And they continue to make you better and better at what you're already good at, as opposed to kind of being like, oh, let's work on something you don't even do at all.
Sure, but I mean, they'll have to work on the things I don't do at all in a worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they build your strengths. Like, you know, not all of us that train with the same coaches fight the same. Me and my training partners aren't exactly the same style of fighter per se, but our coaches are able to work with that and improve us in ways that benefit our kind of natural tendencies or body types or whatever.
Yep. No, absolutely. Do you find like you have a little bit of a debate around the difference between like fighting hard and fighting smart, and the whole situation of knowing when to taper down, knowing when to just be like, hey, if you're not training hard enough 2-3 times a day, then you're not doing it right? Like, what's kind of your logic from fighters listening to this to pick apart your brain of like the routine and regimented, you know, camp or no camp you should be in when it comes to training?
You mean training hard or training smart?
Yeah.
Well, you have to train hard. You have to. You know, I'm not one of those guys who is overly cerebral probably about it. I just dog through it, you know. I train hard a couple times a day, 5 days a week. I spar and grapple on Sundays as well. Saturdays I take off. And sometimes, like, you know, there's not a benefit necessarily to, like, there's some days where maybe I trained strength and conditioning, I'm already tired, and then I went and I trained with Cadro and did striking for a long time, and then I'm going and trying to spar after, and I'm just a pile of shit, right? Like, yeah, there's not necessarily a big benefit to that. Maybe you gotta figure it out for you, but sometimes maybe in a fight you're gonna be absolutely exhausted and you're not gonna have it, and you're gonna have to try and just figure it out, you know. So the more you train, the better it is, really. Like, you know, I'm not saying that it's the same for everybody. Maybe some people get hurt more easily when they get tired, you know. I don't. I'm fine. So the more you train, I'm more of a proponent for training hard than training smart.
Yeah. And with the more time you've had through COVID, like training hard, doing strength, training more, have you noted, like, what were some of the advantages you now have that you didn't have beforehand?
Oh, I'm just stronger, right? But my conditioning also improved. So, you know, I'm in a bit better shape. Overall, definitely stronger. And because of that, some of my technique came along, even in striking, something that you wouldn't think it would, because some of the smaller sport muscles maybe that weren't developed as much are able to fire in like a better way. And my technique was, after not doing any striking for quite a while because of, like, you know, the gyms being closed because of COVID and me just focusing on strength and conditioning, I was like better than before, which didn't really make sense, but it was just that my muscles were more conditioned to firing in better ways, I think. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. If you don't mind sharing, and if you don't, I don't mind, but like, what does one typical strength day look like for you? Like, when you're in the gym, what are some of the workouts and movements you're doing on a strength day?
Well, first of all, like, a short one's like 2 hours. It's usually like 3. It sucks. We can do a warm up that consists of a lot of footwork and explosion type stuff, like box jumps and line drills. Sometimes like shuttle sprints or whatever with the cones and stuff like that. And so the days are broken up. I think Monday is compound lifts and back. Tuesday is Tuesday back? Wednesday's wrestling and verse climber. Wednesday we don't actually have like strength and conditioning.
The Versa Climber.
The Versa Climber is the conditioning. At the end of Monday, there's this horrible conditioning circuit. It's the worst thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of Friday, we have a couple VersaClimber rounds that are also terrible. Thursdays like chest and arms mostly, and Friday is legs before the VersaClimber, and like
You're just frying your body every day all the way through.
Yeah.
You guys score. You guys like keep track of the score. I love that you guys do that.
We do on the times on the circuit. So
Yeah.
the Monday conditioning circuit, you write down your times. So like we do 1,000 feet on the VersaClimber, and you write down how long that took you, and then you get 1 minute break, and then you got to do 1,000 meters on the ski erg, and you get a minute break, and then you do 200 calories on the Airdyne bike. Calories don't actually matter. It doesn't account for like a person's weight or anything, so it's the same for everybody. It's just keeping track of how fast you're keeping it over a period of time. So you measure it in the calories, but you just give her on all of those and try and get the fastest times you can.
Out of curiosity, like just with the way your mind works, when you see everyone's time, are you very competitive in the sense of like, even just with that? I know you could be competitive in other things, like obviously fighting. But if you look at that, are you just like, I'm going to be the first one to have the highest time? Like, do you care a lot about that?
Well, you do. You do get competitive about it, right? It's like more in a fun way. But there's like things where I'm never going to beat Spencer Jebb on the VersaClimber.
He's known to just be an athletic freak, man.
He's the undisputed king of the VersaClimber. No one can touch him. But I'm the best at the Airdyne bike. So if I can shave off a little more time on the Airdyne bike, I can beat his overall time by a couple seconds sometimes. You know what I mean? So that's kind of, although he's gotten a lot better at the Airdyne bike himself, so it's getting to the point where my VersaClimber is going to have to improve a lot to keep up with that little fucker. But
that's hilarious.
You get competitive. If somebody has a shitty day, you can point to it. You got to write your numbers down.
Well, that's the best part. I mean, it won't be competitive if you didn't have as athletic freaks or training partners that are there with you. Right?
If you could just go and be content with getting a mediocre times because you didn't know any better.
And man, like for me personally, that's how I felt with my transition with jiu-jitsu. Like I remember feeling like, I feel like I'm up there, like as far as one of the top 5 guys is a purple belt in my gym. And then when I switched, I was like, I still to this day feel like I'm bottom of the barrel, but I like that. I like the feeling of knowing that there's guys better than me that I'm surrounded around, because it just makes you want to show up way more often, and 2, you actually understand that you're surrounding yourselves around better people.
Yeah, you have to figure it out. If you're not the best guy at something, then that's the person you want to go with for that thing, and then you try and get better, and you try and you have some success in one thing. Well, I kind of got him with that, or that kind of worked, and then you just build and build and build, and then hopefully one day you're better than them, right?
Yep. No,
you just got to do that in everything.
Exactly, man. Do you find like with your karate background, it's been advantageous to your striking, or like if you didn't even do karate at all, do you feel like you'd still be able to be the striker you are?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it. I think it helped me, especially in the beginning, because that was my foundation. I could move in and out okay. I knew some kicks that were okay. My roundhouse kick was garbage. I really had to work on that. Mm-hmm.
Like, was it like learning on how, like, you know how
you had to unlearn
martial arts?
Yeah.
But, you had to be a certain stance and things like that?
Yeah, but I switched stances because you do that in karate. So the switching stances came reasonably naturally to me. It did definitely help me at the beginning, but if I would have trained with the coaches I have now, even without it, I don't think I would be too much different, but it was I needed it in order to get the ball rolling, because otherwise I wouldn't have known where to start.
Yeah. No, that's very fair. It's one of those things where, I wanted to ask you and transition into the like monetary part of fighting.
Oh yeah.
Like, I wanted to ask you, with karate being where you all started and then driving that into MMA and you making that transition, did you ever have a moment when you started or halfway through and go, okay, this is what I'm making a living off of now? And did that change things for you, and how did that change things for you? Like, when you associate money with fighting, like, what was that like?
Well, I mean, I needed the paydays in all of my fights, but I was working another job I worked at Diamonds, which was a strip club in Edmonton, for 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. Something like that. And without that, there's no way I could have gotten by. No way. The the fighting doesn't pay until way later. You're not making anything at, you're fighting in local promotions or, even then you got to stretch that out because you fight a few times a year. Like, yeah, it's supplementary income and it definitely helps, but you'd be really hard pressed to get away with doing just that without a job.
Yeah.
The only time where you said, like, when was the time where I'm like, hey, I'm doing this for a living?
Yeah.
It's now. That's it.
Yeah.
Like and not even at the start when I was in UFC. Not even. I was worried, man. Like, my first diamonds burnt down. So
Yeah.
I was working at a couple other clubs. They paid what a bouncer would typically make, which is like $100 a night, right? Like and they're only open weekends. I'm only working like a couple nights a week or 2 or 3 nights a week.
Picking up shifts
That's
here or
nothing.
there.
Like that's fuck all.
Yep.
So whereas at Diamonds I had it pretty good. Like I was making an okay amount of money,
Sweet.
but then it's gone. So now I'm like, hey, well, but I'd gotten signed to UFC. So I'm like, well, this better work. But I mean, when you're making people hear the amount of money you make, that's sick. Well, it's not. Like, think about it. When you start off in UFC, if you're not anybody special, you weren't somebody that they really wanted for some reason, and you make the entry level amount, which is 10 grand to show and 10 grand to win. Well, if you win, it's 20 grand. No, it's not.
You're not getting all
You get
that.
30% to taxes right away and 20% to your manager.
Yeah.
You're left with half of it. You're left with half.
That's after winning and busting your ass off.
Right.
And
So you're left with half about. I mean, it varies. Some people have a manager that's 10%, 15, 20 at the higher end. If it's more than that, that's horrible. But, even 20's hard, right?
yeah.
It sucks. You win a fight and you're making the same amount that I would have made without paying a manager, without paying taxes if I fought for cash in some, local league or Russian league or something like that. You know what I mean? So not until I won my first fight in UFC. I beat Daniel Spitz by decision. I then lost to Cyril Gahn by decision. And then I knocked out Felipe Lins. And I was really, really bitter after that fight. It was a highlight reel knockout. It was viral. It got shared on everything, like on Bro Bible. It was on TSN for like weeks. TSN's top plays of the week. And I made 12-12 that fight. And I got I paid to bring an extra corner down. So that was like over $1,000. And UFC takes that off your purse. You get one corner. And then I had an MRI that UFC required, so they charged me for that. And then I had to pay taxes and manager. And so like after this fight, like more than half of it's gone, So it's like I'm sitting there.
It's like the biggest fight of your life. Like,
best performance of my life.
Yeah, you're around the world at that point.
I was pissed off. I was pissed off a day later. I'm talking to my manager, and he's like, I've never encountered someone so bitter after a performance like that. I'm like, well, fucking sorry, man. Like, get me another fight. What the fuck am I supposed to do with this? How you want me to fucking live with that? I'm not gonna Reebok's $3,500. Like, yeah, right on. Which gets taxed and manager gets a cut of.
Totally.
Like, that's all fine. Like, yeah, I can get by. I'm here having the best performance of my life, knocking out PFL's world champ who won $1 million in 2018 in the PFL tournament. I've smoked him, and I'm making like, I get what, 15 grand, and I got to pay a bunch of bills. What the fuck, fair, man? You know what I mean? What am I?
Like, if I could have made that much or more in my own city, and then here I am being showcased on.
No, so I wouldn't have made that much in Edmonton. There's no way.
Yeah.
No, that was still at the time, like that's still decent.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah. But I felt like I was owed more.
Yeah.
I got mad a bit. I didn't get a performance of the night bonus. Whatever. So then I take that short notice fight against Rafael Pessoa on Fight Island.
Yeah.
And I get a contract renegotiation. They decide to sign me for 4 more fights starting at that fight. So, and then my contract shot up. So I got like a lot more money, and I was finally like, and it was pretty much contingent. They didn't offer it, but I accepted the fight, and they were like, hey, here, like we'll want to re-sign you then. Because I kind of proved like, yeah, I just had a great performance, and I'm willing to fight someone on
that's short notice,
like 2 weeks notice or whatever, right? So, then at that fight, I won, and I got I got performance of the night.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So now it's like, okay, well now only now do I feel like I'm making enough money where it's actually a career. And I know Dana White said it's not a career, it's an opportunity. Well, at least I'm making enough in this opportunity to not just get by. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing okay. I can pay off my truck, shit like that. Like put a little bit of money away, look to buy something, you know? And it's an awesome feeling, and it was a long time coming.
It's like a finally.
I really earned it. Yeah. But it definitely wasn't until now where I thought like it was actually, when am I making money and it's a career? Well, maybe now, because before, if I have to work a job 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week to get by, it's not really a career, you know?
Yeah. And did that ever happen for you, like win or lose in fights, where you would have thought like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of living this way? Because rightfully so, to your point, you know, you're balancing another job, your lifestyle circumstances change. Like you obviously gotta love fighting and know that, hey, this is something I'm doing, and I know I'm good enough for it to make more money, whichever organization I end up in. But my bad. Regardless of that, do you find, Tanner, that I've lost my train of thought because of this stupid cord. But with what I was trying to say is, did you ever feel like, win or lose in a certain fight, that if you end up losing, you're like, fuck this, I can't do this anymore. It's not gonna, my life can't go this way anymore. Did that ever happen?
Yeah, there was one, like actually, you know what, there's probably a couple. One was if I lost to Kilkenny, when I fought Kilkenny in Unified, which was the fight I won before I got signed to UFC. Kilkenny's he's good. You know, he's a local guy, and he's got a journeyman type record. He's got a lot of fights, but he's not a guy that if you lose to, it's going to be easy to get into one of the big leagues. You know, he's really good though. That's the problem. So it's like, if I lose this, well, shit. Like, well, I'm gonna have to go get a job, and I'll keep fighting, but I can't. I can fight in Russia probably, you know, and do okay, but I need a job. Like,
but that wasn't going to be an end game. Russia wasn't going to be like a place to arrive.
End game. If I lost to Dave Cryer in ACB in Montreal, then I didn't know what I was going to do, because I really needed money bad, and I'd lost 2 in a row in ACB, and although one of them was like a split decision, it was a really close fight, whatever, I got dominated by Dennis Smolderev in my next fight. I'm like, if I lose 3 in a row, I'm going to get cut from ACB. And then it's like I had my shot in the big league. And, you know, ACB is a big league. A lot of those Russian leagues have some of the best guys in the world, and people don't really want to acknowledge that or don't really realize it. I'm like, if I lose this 3rd fight in a row and I get cut, and then I have to fight at a local promotion again, like, shit, you know, it's like I tried and it didn't work out. Gave it my all. You know, I've got to go do something. I might not quit fighting. I might still take a local fight here and there because I enjoy it. I like training. I like fighting. But that would have been, I had to do something, because that was like, I'm fucked.
Yeah. Because does it feel like you're a step close to a door that you've been trying to arrive at, and if you end up losing, you're back on the first step, and now it feels like
it's just like the door there was the payday, right? Like winning, you get a win bonus, it doubles your money, right? That's the step. That's what I need.
Totally.
So I won, and I got knockout of the night for ACB, which was like an additional 10 grand. So I was fine then. I'm like, okay, that was awesome. It was like, I was stoked, right? But that was one where I felt that if I couldn't win that one, then I got to figure something out, and I got to go get an actual career, because you know, how long you want to cling on, and you can keep doing it. You keep doing it for fun, and maybe one day, you never know, maybe UFC needs a guy and they call you up. But at a certain point, you got to be like, well, fuck me, you know?
Like, what am I going to do without waiting for a call kind of thing,
like,
right?
Time to go figure it out. But yeah, that didn't happen. I won that fight, and, you know, I won all the ones where my back truly was against the wall, so that's good.
Damn. No, that's awesome, man. Are you a big believer in any sort of, because of the way your story is and the way it shapes out to be, do you believe in any like higher power energy, or like things were like, oh, you know what, it's not just me up here? Like, you're just very much like, fuck, it's up to me, and if this happen.
Yeah, because like imagine going into a fight really believing you couldn't lose because you were destined to win.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine you go
Like,
in
no
and you're
matter
like,
what, I got
this
this.
is it. Like, this is how it works. Like, I win, that's destiny. That's the universe.
Yeah.
That's whatever you want.
Yeah.
Dude, you go in there delusional like that. Fuck.
It's game over.
Like, maybe you skate by a couple, but you're going to get a reality check because if you think
Yeah.
that somehow you're more deserving or more destined or specialer than the guy you're fighting, you're off of it, man. Like,
that's where I kind of feel like, and I could argue with Muhammad Ali going into Joe Frazier, right? The first time he fought him.
Okay.
He, in a sense, decreased the amount he trained and was a little bit too verbal as he normally is to be like, I'm going to get this guy. I got this guy. I already know I'm going to win. Oh, Joe Frazier, he's got nothing on me. And he, in a way, he believed in that, but it didn't work to his benefit. But you also find if you did train really hard, you did everything you had to do, and you were maybe just like, what's this generation's version of Muhammad Ali? McGregor, right? Like, are you kind of in the zone of feeling like, oh, if I talk up the heat and it gets me all fired up and I'm going to have a better A game? Or are you kind of just like, man, I'm in here to fucking fight? The whole kind of scheme of marketing myself up to be someone and trying to get inside that guy's head, do you not bother to do that kind of thing?
I don't, but I mean, it doesn't mean it's wrong if somebody else does.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
somebody else fights better if they have some sort of personal beef or they're talking shit, then who cares? Like, people, everybody's different in that way. I don't, I don't ever want to feel like I trained so hard, like I'm entitled to this win. You're not, man. Like, he trained hard too.
Yeah.
And if not, well, great. Then maybe you're going to kick his ass. But like, you definitely should always think that, I don't know. It's better to think that you're going in there to like almost die, You're going in there to almost, I'm going to get stretchered out. This is going to be horrible. I'm going to destroy my ankles, my feet. I'm going to be so fucked up, man. I'm not going to be able to stand up for an hour after. Put that in your head. That way, if that happens, at least you were right. What happens if you're wrong? It was an easier fight. That's great. Take it. It's better to be prepared for, in my opinion, that's at least how I view it. It's better to be prepared for this horrible, horrible 15 minutes of your life.
And you know what? Personally, you have no idea how much that resonates with me, man. Because, like, I went into my first and only MMA fight, and I was just like, all right, I'm going into a fucking fight. Like, I'm not fighting any Joe Schmo. I'm fighting a kid who wants it just as badly as me. He's 2 years older than me, and if I was just thinking, I was like, if I go out at this in different pieces, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're in a fight. This is no sparring match. And I find that's where, I just have to say, that's huge. That's heavy. It's very accurate. I think so many guys feel like they can get out of there and, like, tell themselves that it's going to be okay, but you reach a certain level where like, you're fighting a name now. You're not fighting a guy with just as many fights. That person's going to come and bring it. They're going to be, like, as wired in as you are.
Yeah, they should be.
Yeah.
That's my approach to it. Doesn't mean it's right. That's just how I do it. Everybody's different.
No, totally.
Yeah.
No, it's just neat to know the philosophy associated with it. Is there anything that, like, you do when you're not training, Tanner, like, as far as you find still helps you with your training, if you know what I mean? Like the books you read or the music you listen to, or like anything that amplifies your experience as a fighter, as a professional martial artist?
Probably not.
Yeah, like, how, like, I'll give you an example. I just can't help it because I see it every day. KB just fucking loves listening to Joe Rogan. That's just his jam, right? He'll slap on Joe Rogan everywhere he goes, left, right, and center, and he'll read, like, certain books associated to taper his training mentally, right? He'll like listen to all the Joe Rogan episodes with certain MMA fighters. Is there anything in the MMA world that you kind of cling on to that's not just associated with you showing up at the gym, per se?
Like in the MMA world?
Yeah, like in the martial arts world that's still associated with MMA. No,
I don't. I like to train, and I don't like to. It's like it's what I love doing.
Yeah.
But it's work.
Yeah.
So
fair.
I like to go home and not do anything related to fighting. Like,
I like that. Okay.
I don't. I hate watching tape. Like,
really?
I will, because it's homework. I got to watch all of Arlovski's fights. I got to watch that because I have to, because I'm going to fight him and I'm going to see some stuff. But I don't want to. Like, it just seems like work. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I love watching live fights. I love it. It's like one of my favorite things to do. But going back and watching fights where I already know what happens, I'm like,
yeah,
I don't really like doing it. I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast sometimes, but not really with fighters.
Mm-hmm.
No, like I don't really. I'm not a guy who overly studies stuff or reads books about fighting or watches tape of particular guys to try and learn stuff. That's cool if people do. It's probably good, but it's just not something that I enjoy doing, so I don't.
Yeah, it's not like every minute of every day is an opportunity in your own time to do it. It's like
No.
What do you do with that time?
Well, I train for 3 hours and then I eat, and then I'll maybe have a coffee if there's time, and then I'll train again, and then I'll eat, and I'll go home.
It's all
I'll
still
probably
training.
eat and shower.
Then the day's gone.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Do you have any do you play any video games?
Not really. I play Pokemon Go all the time.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It's a good time.
Did you catch any crazy Pokemon?
Sometimes.
Like any special Pokemon?
You can.
I think I know. Hold on. Ho-Ho and Mewtwo. Those are two at the top of my mind.
Both
that I
are
could
good,
think
yeah. Both good.
Do you have those?
I have Mewtwo. I don't think I have Ho.
Oh shit. I think Ho-Ho is better.
No, it's not.
The name, has a good ring to it.
Terrible name.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I used to hear Ho-Ho. I used to always laugh because I'm like, who names a kid's video game character Ho-Ho? Like, that blows my mind.
It's Ho-Oh. Ho-O-H.
Ho-hyphen.
Ho-Oh.
Ho-Oh?
Yeah.
It's not Ho-Ho?
No. It's still a stupid name, but no.
Yeah, I thought it was Ho-Ho.
No.
Well, that just shows how much Pokemon I play,
Yeah,
man.
that's fine. It's
KB loves it. You know what? But that's the funny thing is there's certain things that you find that you just need to shut your brain off and do. Like one thing that we had a previous guest. He's a good friend of ours. He runs 5 physio clinics in Edmonton, and really successful guy. KB goes to him. Raj Dillon from Pivotal Physio, shout out. He told me this. We're just like, what do you do on your time off? He's like, I watch mindless television. He's like, I just need to shut my brain off.
Yeah.
Watch something that has nothing to do with nothing. He's like, I just have it in the background. But it just kind of shows, everyone always thinks that most successful people and what they do, what are they doing in their off time? But I find you and him are just, the proof's in the pudding. It's you don't always have to be on in the off time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not for me and maybe not for him, but maybe some people function best when they are on all the time. I know.
That's me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've noticed that. I have to be.
Yeah.
I have to fill my fucking calendar with anything and everything.
Oh, yeah?
I can't sit still, man.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, not me, man.
But it's nice to know that everyone's different, right? What's on your soundtrack? What do you listen to?
I listen to mostly folk music, I guess.
Really?
I like quieter music, yeah. When it comes to rock, I really like Gaslight Anthem and Brian Fallon, their lead singer. But for folk music, I'm big on John Brooks. He's a Canadian guy. Coulter Wall, Tallest Man on Earth. It's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I like songwriting and I like lyrics. So
okay.
I like if it's not a story, I like the lyrics to somehow be something abstract, but somehow my brain will figure out a way that it's profound. I hate all music that they played at Privé when I worked there.
Oh, yeah. The Privé songs.
Oh, my God.
Top 40 type music, the rap. You don't like rap and hip-hop, I take it then.
I don't like what currently is popular in terms of rap and hip-hop.
From a lyrical standpoint, I bet.
From a lyrical standpoint.
Why are they
I can
rapping?
appreciate the golden age rap stuff, your Biggie and Tupac. That's not a music I like. I don't like it, but I appreciate it. They're very talented, and I at least I get it. Mm-hmm. Whereas sometimes I'm you're just sitting there yelling Gucci Gang 100 times. Fuck my life, man. Or anything Drake says is pretty fucking stupid.
You made how many millions saying Gucci Gang 60 times over?
What am I doing here, man? Shit.
You chose the wrong industry.
Yeah, fuck.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, you know what? I'm heavy on music. I always find, by heavy, I mean, it sets the vibe.
Okay.
Right? Boom, okay, if we're coaching and I need to pump up a class of 30 people, okay, we got to have high tempo music playing in the background.
Yes, if you're coaching and you need to hype up a class of 30 people, that's the play, right? Because that's going to work for most of those
Gucci
people.
Gang could
That's
work
normal.
in that case.
It could work. It would probably work better than the music I listen to, right? It's just got a higher tempo. It seems more upbeat. It might get people, maybe you're not paying attention and at least the beats in the back of your mind. I don't know, but again, that would work for most people. Most people get hyped up from listening to hyper music, which makes sense. So that's normal.
What do you think is 3 non-negotiables someone needs to have or do if they want to be an MMA fighter. Like, you're going to get fans listening to this. I know. You're going to get people you're going to get a heavyweight guy who's following your trajectory in the UFC, who's probably already gone. He's watched your previous fights. He looked you up. He wants to become an MMA fighter. So, from your perspective, couple things, 3 things. What are like non-negotiables that they have to like prime themselves in a 6 months or a month to have their first pro fight? 3 things they have to be aware of from you.
You have to join a gym. You have to have a coach and join a gym. There's a lot of idiots that'll message me and be like, "Yo, I want to fight." I'm like, "Cool. Where do you train?" Well, like, yeah, you don't.
They don't
So
train
go to
anywhere.
a gym. Here, I'll tell you the secret. Go to a gym. Listen to those coaches, because maybe they're not the world's best MMA coaches. I don't know what gym you're going to, but guess what? They know more than you do. You don't know anything. Go to a gym, listen to the coaches, get in shape. That's it. That's it. There's no secret. Like, people want this great secret. There's not, man. You got to work hard. You got to train. You got to get in shape, and you got to listen, because you don't know shit even when you think you do. You don't know shit. So go listen to some coaches.
Yeah. It's crazy how I still am surprised by this locally. You'll get a guy who's like no name gym, like trains out of his friend's garage.
Fighter, and you're like, oh shit, okay.
It's like, whoa, okay.
Anybody want to bet me? I want to bet. Bet on the other guy. Yeah.
No, that's huge, man. You gotta be a part of some culture associated with showing you how to do things, right?
Instead of you can watch all of the YouTube tutorials on how to do certain moves or combos, you know what I mean? But you don't know how to apply any of that. Yeah, you're hitting that combo with your friends, but you don't know how it actually works. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that simple. It's not gonna work because you don't know how to apply it.
Yeah.
So you have to listen to some coaches. You got to figure it out, and you got to train. Like, some guys they just want to fight, and I mean, that's stupid. I did it. I'm an idiot. But like, I would never tell. My first fight, I didn't. I was out of Bonnieville training with like my buddies. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's definitely not what you should do. It happened to work for me because I got lucky. That's it. Yeah. That is it. I got lucky.
What was like when you were at that point? Was it kind of a thing where you're like, oh, I'm doing this? Like, were you even thinking then? Was it like a bucket list thing, or was it?
It was kind of a bucket list thing, but I wanted to do it. Like, I'm in high school, and I'm like, yeah, like I
saw your first fight, man.
Yeah,
that was nuts.
What a train wreck, hey?
It was crazy. It was a war. It was like a fucking full-on,
the
like...
sloppiest, shittiest war of all time.
Yeah, but I just remember people beside me and me being like, who is this guy? Like, everyone's like, who's this Tanner Boser? Look at him. Like, fucking going for it, man. It's just crazy. Like, looking back on that moment, that was over a decade ago.
No, it was in 2012. So we're coming up on 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Where did the name Bulldozer come from?
I can tell it on this podcast. So,
sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Mitch Clark was trying to think of a nickname for me, mostly just because he was like bugging me. He's like, Tanner, we need to think of a name for you. And he's just like, what rhymes with Boser? He's like, he's like, and he was kind of just rattling stupid shit off. But he's like, like the Dildozer. Dildo Boser. No, not Dild. The Dildozer. Dildozer Boser. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And so Mitch at the time, Mitch is in the UFC. He's the man. I have like 3 fights. So Mitch is just calling me Dildozer all the time. What can I do, right? I'm just like, shit. And then I fought my 4th fight. I won. And Nadal, one of my friends, was cornering me, training partner at the time. And he goes, bro, you fucking bulldozed that guy. You should just be the Bulldozer. And I'm like, if I called myself the Bulldozer, now I didn't give myself the nickname because Nadal just suggested it. And also Mitch calls me Dildozer. So if I call myself Bulldozer, it'll kind of be homage to Mitch's stupid ass too. So I was like, oh. So I went with Bulldozer after that.
Oh, man, I love that.
And it rhymes, so.
It was a perfect blend. It starts with B. It doesn't have the stupid dildo reference in it. That's fucking awesome, man. Wow. I appreciate you sharing that on here, too. I love how you're like, man, Have you been asked that before?
A lot. And often I just default to saying that, it just rhymes. Because I don't have... if I'm doing like a 10-minute interview, I don't want to spend half of it telling a story about how it's called Dildozer. I'm not going to tell that on like, some interview that's on like
MMA fight.
Yeah, what am I going to tell that to Edmonton Journal? You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to write those. They're
going to quote me. They're going to come up with the title. That's the only thing they're going to reference. Yeah. Don't worry, we won't make our promo that part. We'll make sure if people want to listen, they got to hear the whole episode. That's awesome, man. Other than that, dude, yeah, this was fucking awesome, man. I feel like I got to learn more about you, which is sweet. And I find what people might not know this, but like you and me trained earlier on for a bit there
you were
too, man.
you were my main sparring partner for my fourth fight.
Yeah.
We the old boxing coach Gareth at Hayabusa basically just lock us in the cage and yell at us to go harder. Both just be leaking everywhere and fucking clearly concussed.
Dude, you know, like I had to mentally prepare myself because I'm like, I am about to go against the like biggest, scariest man I've ever gone against who doesn't fucking hold back. Like I remember being like,
we
nope.
would just kick the shit out of each other, man. It was hilarious.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah.
Those were great times, and I find like it's a huge testament back to like training partners where whether you end up training together still or not in your life, and I feel like you and Nadal experience this too, where it's like, man, just become brothers.
Yeah.
It's like it's so easy to like have a conversation with. Nothing gets awkward. And I find that's a beautiful part about martial arts in general.
Yeah.
It's like the moment you get locked up in a cage with somebody.
Yeah, but you know someone after that, right? Like you kind of do. Like it's fucked up. You know how somebody says like you don't. I don't know if you've heard where I don't remember who the quote's attributed to. Like you don't know someone until you fight them, or like you don't know a man until you fought him, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You learn a lot about a guy fighting him. You know, if the fight goes the whole time, you learn a lot about a guy training with him. You train with someone and you spar hard and you do a lot of rounds. You know that person in like a weird way. Yeah. You know, and you get a bond that is really, really hard to replicate or make in any other way as well, because you've literally bled together. You know, you've fucking beat the shit out of each other. Like
it's a true testament of grit, man.
Yeah.
I find like right off the bat, you get to see like how badly does this person want it, and I don't even think like want it to win, just like want it to be like, can you still keep up?
Yeah.
You know, like that's the difference of sparring.
I'll lose complete respect for somebody if they just give up.
Yeah,
I've done it. There was a kid who came to Hayabusa when I was training at Hayabusa, and he had told me that he moved to Edmonton because he wanted to be a fighter, and he heard this was a really good gym and he wanted to train. I'm like, that's awesome, because that's what I did, right? I had 2 fights out of Bonnyville. I'm pushing my luck. I won both, but I'm like, I need to go train with like some pro guys with like good coaches, because like it's really only a matter of time till I get my ass absolutely tuned in, because I don't know actually what the fuck I'm doing. Right?
After a few fights,
so I recognize that. So it's like I go and I'm like, I want this kid to do well, because he did the exact same thing I did, you know? And then I seen him just give up in sparring. Like he was getting beat up, sure, but he just like quit, and he's like, "Oh, I'm done." But it's not like he got dropped or knocked out.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Just like halfway through a round,
he was just done. He just got beat up and he gave up, and I was like, "You're a pussy. I'll never respect you. There's no way."
Yeah.
Like you don't. Fuck you. I know you're weak now. You know,
no,
like
totally.
You don't have any. You don't have it. That's
exactly. Like, you lost all my respect.
If you there's people who like me and Teddy, man, or me and Graham, even me and KB, like we there's days you kick the shit out of each other, you know? Like,
yeah. Might be one on more than the other.
And sometimes it's in the same thing.
People are watching now.
Sometimes I get the upper hand, and then the other guy will get the upper hand and do the exact same thing the next day, because everybody's good and everybody's getting better and learning.
Yeah. No one's sour about it. You don't look at the guy and be like, "Oh,
no,
screw you, man. I'm never talking to you again." Like, that's just stupid. Yeah. It's shocking how that might still occur in some gyms where the ego gets the best of some guys.
Yeah, and some guys do, right?
Yeah.
But again, you know someone, so you figure it out, right? All right, if I hit this guy too hard right here, he's gonna fucking snap. You know, am I prepared to deal with that right now or not? Which is fine.
That brought me back, man, to like I had those moments with Beaumont, right? Where Beaumont, like you just kind of press the gas a little bit more. He's out to get you. That's what I love about the guy, because again, back to like his personality is showcased that way, right? But if I look back to reference him back to what you talked about going into a gym, just another shout out to him, because it reminds me where like he's somebody who signed up at Legends Training Center at the time when me and KB were training there.
Yeah.
Man, he was like 3 months in, and he's like, "Let's do this. I'm ready to fight."
Yeah.
But what was good was I know he could have
Yeah.
done that without signing up with the gym, but he's like, this is where I needed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a testament of showcasing that, like, hey, if I've got to fight, I got to be with people who are in the fight game.
Yeah.
And he put himself in a gym that was showcasing that, but he never gave up. No matter how many times he felt like he had to, like...
A guy like Beaumont, you
like
literally have to kill in order to stop him.
And it's shown his fights, man.
Yes, he's one of the most entertaining fighters like I've ever seen, even though he only ever just fought like locally.
Yeah.
Beaumont's an animal. You know, like and there's guys like that. Like you know somebody, you respect them in a different way. Like, yeah, like he wouldn't quit unless he was dead. You know, or the ref told him he was done and he had to. You know what I mean? Like there's guys like that, and not everybody is cut from that cloth, which is fine. But you better know that then, you know?
No, 100%, man. I agree. As we conclude, man, I wanna kind of hear and know if, especially to get everyone's curiosity, like if you look at things as a fighter, long term or short term, and I've started to recognize that fighters they're either on one end of the spectrum of I want to be in the UFC, I want to fight as long as I can, like the Daniel Cormier approach,
Yeah.
or the approach of I want to get in, I want to get out, I want to get to the top, from there make a name of myself outside, do whatever, maybe make my own gym, whatever it is.
Sure.
But like, how do you look at like how long you want to be in the game for?
Okay, I want to be there as long as I possibly can.
Cool.
Because if I can be reasonably successful or do reasonably well in UFC, and I'm not talking about like getting a title shot or something like that. If I can like win more than I lose and stay there, and my pay just constantly goes up till the point where I'm actually making like sick money, why wouldn't I do that? I have the opportunity to now, maybe. So I got to keep just training really hard and doing that. But yeah, I would love to be that guy who's like 38 years old, who they want, fuck, this kid's really good. He needs to get a guy to break him into the top 10 or top 15 or get him to fight Boser. Fuck, that's awesome. Like, a lot of guys go in there looking to be the champion, and that's cool and that's good. But I mean, man, I'd be content to just be in there as long as I possibly can and be one of those old war dogs. You know what I mean? That's
I love that, man. But hey, you know, that's how you know yourself so well, and you're not fooling anybody.
No,
know?
I mean, there's you never know what could happen.
Yep.
You know, but like if we're honest and we look at the top guys, it's like, do I look at Francis Ngannou and be like, yeah, I'd take Francis Ngannou. I'd fucking fight him if UFC told me to. You bet your sweet ass. And I wouldn't tell my friends to put money on me. That's for damn sure. You know what I mean?
Fuck, man, I love that. So real. It's honest. It's honest, right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well,
but if I fought Stipe and he looked like he did last fight, I'd beat his fucking ass.
how about Cormier as well?
Cormier's retired. We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, Cormier's done. We don't have to mention him. Yeah, that's kind of a... I don't know if that's necessarily a sad way to go, or if it's like, should he have retired early on and it's his own decision.
Why? Because how much money do you know? People like to say that about fighters. Oh, he needs to retire. He's done. He needs to retire. Look, if you could train the way you've been training for a big part of your life and walk into a fight, and if you're Cormier and you make, I mean, he's got endorsements. He's got the extra money Reebok gives you from being in a title fight, blah, 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 blah. Never mind all that shit, okay? All the extra money he's making from all that stuff. Just UFC. If he walks in there and he makes $500,000 to fight, who is anybody to tell him not to? Well, I don't know, man. He's kind of past his prime. He needs to hang him up. Fuck you. If you could walk in anywhere and go make $500,000, you'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
Go until they fucking tell you to go home, man. Fucking show up till they don't let you anymore.
And that's to your point about like the whole, leave when you know you're on the top. You're just kind of like, screw that noise. Just
it's up to everybody. If your legacy is more important, that's fine. But like, legacy.
Yeah.
What's that pay for? You know, I mean, that's cool, but it depends. That's an individual journey, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody, unless somebody's really out there getting really like hurt constantly, and there's very few examples of that. I feel like in the highest level, like in UFC, like maybe some guys start to lose a lot more. Of course, when they get older, that's what happens. But it's not like all these guys are out. Like I'm gonna use Robbie Lawler as an example. He fought yesterday. He lost to Neil Magny. Now Neil Magny's an animal. He's been an animal for a long time. He's extremely underrated. He's a beast. But Lawler got worked. It's like his fourth loss in a row.
Yeah.
Okay. He got dominated there. He got absolutely whooped by Colby Covington. He hasn't looked great, but he's not getting fucking mangled. Like Covington did put a beating on him a bit, I'd say.
He's hanging in there.
But he's hanging in there. And so if UFC wants to pay Robbie Lawler, I don't know what he makes, like $200,000-300,000 to show up and fight on the main card because everybody's still stoked to see Robbie Lawler fight. Who is me or you to say, I don't know, man, Robbie Lawler should retire? He's not out there getting hurt.
Yeah.
Sure,
he's
maybe
still having entertaining fights.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he loses most of them now. But why is it up for me or you to say that a guy like that shouldn't go make like a ton of money and maybe like you put his kids through school or you know, save like fucking buy a house for his mom or something.
Yeah,
like, who knows? Like
that's his own decision.
Why? Yeah, it's not really up for people to. In my opinion, it drives me nuts for the most part when people start calling for retirement when a guy loses a couple fights. It's ridiculous.
And that's like, do you find that this is a fight fan thing or just a sport fan thing in general?
I don't know. I don't follow enough sports close enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, you definitely see it a lot. And like the thing is so much is based on a single performance. If an athlete in another sport has a bad game, they get to have another game in like a week or whatever.
Sorry, I'm only laughing because I'm thinking of when you get a guy who's probably never trained for a fight, let alone be in an MMA gym.
Yeah.
And he goes up to you. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but he goes up to you and he's like, "Hey Tanner, man, maybe if you just if you turn that left hook just a little bit more, eh?
If you have no idea.
If you got him, you would have got him, eh?"
Yeah. Some of the messages I received after fights have been the most infuriating things in the world.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even.
Even from loved ones, and by loved ones, I mean maybe like people who've known you in the past,
Sure.
friendships. Like, has that ever even happened? You're just like, really? Like, did you
I
really
wouldn't
just
say
tell me
like
that?
a loved one, and I wouldn't even say like a good friend. You know what I mean? If somebody I know well would be like, "Hey, how come this happened?" You'd be like, "Oh, well, it was because of this," and then okay, well,
They
I was just
respectfully
curious.
explain it.
Right? But I have had people that like I know, but I don't know like super well, but like, you know, I knew them, and they come at me with fucking paragraphs of advice.
God.
After I lose, you know, after I lost to Gon, this guy that I knew, like back from Bonnyville, had all the advice in the world for me. And fuck, man. Like, it was, I just told him to go fuck himself. Like, you fucking, go fuck yourself. You're fucking,
You're like,
seriously, who the fuck are you? You don't know a goddamn thing. And his justification was like, I know, I've probably watched more UFC fights than anyone you know.
oh no,
Cool, bro.
Watch, bro.
Fucking cool. Like,
yeah.
if I see him at the bar, I'm going to slap him in the face.
Yeah, exactly. You're not gonna let him in.
Show me, man. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Well, you know what? That's a huge testament, people. If you're listening, just don't. If you want to say hi to Tanner on a DM, say hi, but don't give him fight advice.
Fucking infuriating.
No, that makes sense, man. That's fair and that's good. People, I think you're gonna have a lot of fighters. Thank you for saying this, because I can imagine it's a big.
I bet
it's universal, right?
You know what else happens to a lot of fighters in DMs? People messaging them, being like, "Bro, I need to hear that you're 100% sure you're gonna. I'm gonna bet, bro. I'm confident in you. I'm confident. I'm putting down like $2,000, bro. I'm putting down like $2,000. I need to hear it from you that you're confident, man. Tell me you're gonna win that fight, bro, because I'm confident, but I want you to say it. I'm putting the money down. Like, look, douchebag. Like, how you choose to gamble is up to you.
Yeah.
I'm gambling more than anyone else with my fucking career and my longevity and my life, man. If I win, I get twice the amount of money as I get. I'm betting more on myself than any other person in the world, I hope. Who's going in there betting 50 grand on me? Smarten the fuck up, you know? Don't do that.
Well, that's when you recognize, I bet, that these people don't look at you like a human anymore. They look at you like some sort of prized possession.
I guess, but it's just so stupid. Most of them I just ignore, right? I just ignore. But it's sometimes like...
Sometimes every now and then
it's
you're
like,
like...
look, how the fuck... If you fucking message my opponent, first of all, he's not going to reply either, you dumbass. But it's like, if you messaged him, he's not going to be like, oh, you know, I think he's got this one. You're like, fuck. Everybody thinks they're going to win.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to go fight about it. I think I'm going to win. He thinks he's going to win. And we got to go fight about it because we both think the same thing and one of us is wrong. That's how it works. Like, no one's 100. If anybody tells you they're 100% sure, they're delusional or they're a fucking liar. So I don't know what you're looking for, but you don't understand shit, you know? Oh, it's infuriating.
No.
So many people are dumb.
I can imagine, man. Holy shit. That's just something that comes with it comes with the territory,
I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
Just you're gonna get all sorts of different.
You get
opinions.
that blue check mark on Instagram and a shitload of message requests from fucking morons.
I wonder if have you ever had or recently, obviously, because this all kind of come really fast in the last little while.
Yeah.
And by fast, I don't mean like you're thinking, oh, well, clearly it wasn't fast. Like you worked fucking hard to be where you're at right now. But fast lately, as far as maybe all of this coming out once.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Yeah. So in that case, has there been any other stupid shit that's happened? Like people being like, Tanner, man, like it'd be really cool if you came to like this, like I'm guessing, but I wouldn't be surprised. Come to this party, show face, maybe pretend to be like my friend. Like anything like horrendously like out of the ordinary that's just humorous in nature.
There's like sometimes you get like, bro, I know how to promote you, man. We'll get you to the next level. It's like
they want to be your next manager.
Let me be your promo manager, bro.
Wow.
I'm like, and then you like look at their page and there's like, you're just a dude. You don't even have like a promo company with like some athletes or celebrities or something. Like, what are you talking about? People they just want to be friends with somebody that they think is like cool or semi-famous or something, and then
tell all their boys, tell all their friends,
like, yeah, you know, I got this guy's number, you know, he's fucking
It's crazy, man.
And it's not the end of the world, you know. Some people are your fan, and some people are just weird or awkward.
I feel like you can.
I feel like the girl MMA fighters for sure get way worse than I do. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like,
yeah.
what do I got to complain about?
All of a sudden, you got an ass to show.
Yeah,
Damn.
people wanting to bet on me and wanting me to confirm I'm for sure gonna win and shit. And like, you know, I reply to some if I can. You know, just people who say like, "Hey, I never seen you fight before. That was an awesome fight. I'm a fan now. I'm Canadian too. Cool. That's great. That's awesome. You know, that's really great." But yeah, when you start getting the fucking meathead, look, bro, I think you do really well against this guy if you would do this. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's hilarious. That's pure comedy. I just
I
for the
don't-
sake of comedy, I
I
find
don't
it
come
funny
show
to
up
bring
to the pipeline and tell you how to fucking fit that pipe.
how to
in or
do your
whatever the
job.
fuck
Here
you're
you
doing,
go,
man.
buddy.
Give me
Special
a break.
guest.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, man. Well, you know what? To tee off, brother, I think this was a mix of, you know, entertainment. Of course, it was a mix of like not only just being able to catch up, but also just like learning more a little bit about your philosophy behind like being a fighter and like just being who you are as a human and just kind of learning more about you in detail, man. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, cool.
And, you know, being that our whole moral premise around the podcast is like how to survive, you know, to the gen pop, the general population, we use
not
marketing terms. It's another marketing term we use at Good
It's not
Life.
like Korean kids singers or something.
Gen pop. It probably is, but it's short for general population.
Okay.
But for the gen pop who are listening, is there any daily routines you do or supplementation or food or anything health related that like you take and you're like, oh man, like I take this every day, or like I just do this whether I'm a fighter or not and it makes me feel good? That it would be neat to know from your personal perspective, but something we could share to our audience if they want to give it a try.
Yeah, I don't take any supplements or anything, man.
No supplements is the answer.
I eat a lot of meat, I guess, and I feel good after I do it. I mean, I'm not giving anybody diet advice. I'm not a dietitian.
Yeah.
I feel good after I work hard and train hard if I eat like steak or something like that. But I mean,
Perfect.
that's what makes me feel good and refueled. That doesn't mean it's right for people if they're not training for 5 hours a day, right? Like who knows? But yeah, I don't have any sort of secret supplements or anything like that. No, not my kick.
That's fair, man. There you go. So just no supplementation at all. I love it.
Yeah.
And a lot of meat.
Yeah, I don't take protein powder, so
Yep.
I mean,
You got
gotta eat
enough
a lot
from
of
the meat
protein,
itself, right?
eggs and, yeah.
That's fair, man. And the last final question, you know, being on the second floor, this is something we asked in season 1. You know, I'll bring it to your attention too. We talk a lot about, you know, elevating and like, you know, getting to the next level and, you know, following your passion per se. What do you feel like from your personal opinion, Tanner? What does it take to get to the next level? Like, what is that like thing or certain elements that you've done that has allowed you to get to the next level? That would be neat to kind of feed upon.
I do best when I'm bitter and angry.
You got to get real emotional
I get
about
pissed
things.
off about stuff. No, it's just like, you know, I fucking had to pay like so much in fucking taxes, like fucking bullshit.
That's
just
fuel.
trying to get ahead. You know, how the fuck's a guy supposed to get ahead? It just makes me mad. And then I just like, and I like don't. I think one time one of my friends texted me and he said something about like, it was before my first UFC fight, and he's like, you know, fuck this guy, man. He's trying to take everything you work for. I'm like, no, he's not. He's trying to scrape through this fucking miserable life, same as me, but I'm going to kick his fucking ass because that gets me ahead. So let
real.
him die, man. You know what I mean? Like, so that's,
It's not going to be me out on the stretcher. It's going to be that guy. And I'm going to go double the money.
yeah, that's it.
No, that's fair, man. Fuck. Well, you know what? I love how real you are, man. This was honestly a slice. And I appreciate you, man. Where can people find Tanner Boser if they want to go into your DMs and give you hell?
At Bulldozer Boser on Instagram and Twitter, Tanner the Bulldozer Boser on Facebook. I'm also going to give a quick shout out to my sponsors, PPS, Paul Pedal Services. Thanks for everything. Premier Built Garages, BBN Consulting, and of course Mealcraft for hooking me up there and keeping me in shape. So those are my current sponsors and everyone I got to shout out, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
Love it. Anytime, Tanner. That's a wrap, brother.